But it's from the Club Random podcast, and apparently it's Bill Maher and Anna Kasparian, who, if you're familiar with both of them, Anna Kasparian is the liberal from the Young Turks who's been going on more like anti-trans posting over the last few months, which is really, really weird. And Bill Maher is, again, a supposed liberal who ends up on the side of like anti-vaxxing and shit. It's weird, like talk show hostisms, effectively. Axis says, no, I'm going to run out of this rain naked after being told to please be safe. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's attractive to somebody, I guess. Let's go ahead and take a look at this and see what's going on.
But, you know, so you have this going on the federal level, which is bad enough. But as you and I both know as Californians, we get a double whammy of experiencing the incompetence of leadership in our state. And so I feel like I find myself in this really interesting position of experiencing what corrupt Democratic leadership looks like and how disastrous it is. And then on a federal level, I'm not, you know, loving a lot of what's been happening recently with the Trump administration.
No.
And I understand Americans who have just completely written off politics. They don't vote, they don't engage. I think that's a mistake, but I understand where that's coming from.
I feel the same.
I just don't know how to fix it. I don't know if it's fixable.
It's not, as long as there's like smartphones, but because that just is making us ever stupider. And yeah,
I'm of two minds on smartphones. So like on the one hand, I actually agree. Smartphones do kind of make us dumber, like in general. On the other hand, they do give us access to an entire world of information instantly. And like, that's, you know, kind of fucking awesome. The problem with the smartphone is not that you have a device that has access to Google in your hand. I think that's the beauty of the smartphone, is that you have access to a device that gives you the ability to look up data and evidence and shit in real time. The problem with smartphones is that that's not how they get used by people. And companies that design smartphones gamify them so that they become addictive little devices with all kinds of ways to give you a fucking dopamine hit, as opposed to what they should be effectively, which is just a device that has a handful of functions like communication. I think that the smartphone being the gaming device, where the microtransactions get to live and burn us all to death, was a bad idea. I think that gamifying a lot of social media was a bad idea. Hell, I actually think that Facebook, Twitter, and even Blue Sky, I think these places existing was a bad idea. I think the internet was better when we had forums. And that was the main thing people had. You had forums, you had IRC chats. But now that everybody has access to everybody's profile 100% of the time, I think we are both thoroughly atomized, but far too interconnected at the same time. We see people getting into arguments and fights about the most menial shit all the time, and it becomes a situation where the loudest voices are the ones seen as the most reasonable, irrespective of whether those loud voices have anything good to say. Kaiser says, I knew we should have never played in Mafia Wars. Look, I played an unhealthy amount of Mafia Wars when I was in high school. PJ says, most people miss the lesson on how to tell a source is reliable. But, like, the thing is, even with missing how to figure out if a source is reliable, even with that, I feel like people still, even with those tools, because it's faster to just look up something in the middle of an argument and then regurgitate whatever it is you find, for people who even do that, even knowing how to find a reliable source, I think the smartphone being a device that you're not having to sit down for, 10 minutes with to do some research, it's a thing that you have in your hand at all times and you're grabbing for like 2 seconds every single day, 1,000 times. It breeds a set of habits where you want quick info and then you want to walk away from it. You want a quick hit of dopamine and then you want to walk away from it instead of like having to sit down and take your time with it. Like when you sit down with a computer or a laptop, and you try to do some research, you're sitting down there for at least 10 minutes. You're sitting down there for an amount of time. You can get into the research of what you're doing. When you do it on smartphone, you're trying to have all the information handed to you as fast as humanly possible and then be done. And I think that the world where that is how we digest information is a world that is actively harmful to our mental health, our ability to communicate, our ability to internalize information. I think it's not great. Now, this is a live video, so I don't have access to the studies on my fingertips right now, but I do remember reading some studies at one point about how smartphones actually hurt, search engines in general, actually hurt our ability to retain information. Because human beings, our brains shortcut things as often as possible. So when our brain subconsciously sees the trigger that it needs to find an answer to a problem, it used to be that you had to retain as much of that information as humanly possible. But now you can just Google that information really quickly. And so our brain has now shortcutted to, well, what's the fastest way I can find that information again? Not how can I retain the information that was relevant? And I think that's fascinating. It shows how the relationship to these devices that do things as quickly as they do can actually like rewire how our brains operate, for better or worse. But that said, let's continue with the video.
People don't know anything anyway, so, I mean, they've completely lost the thread with education. But can I tell you, you're talking about California.
Yep.
I mean, you're from here, right?
Yes, born and raised.
Okay. So here's a fire story. Like in January when the fire hit, Matt Gaetz was a scheduled guest. I think it was January 7th. And he drove through the fire to get here to keep the booking. I mean,
Wow.
I've had people cancel bookings for nothing. And then we chatted here right up until the evacuation order came.
No way.
Yeah,
Good for him. That's actually really impressive. No, but seriously.
Well, as my catchline is always, everybody's a monster till you talk to them.
Yeah.
And then there are certain things you're obviously going to still disagree about, you know? I mean,
I find that actually to be true. Like, I have a ton of disagreements with Bill Maher, but I do find that statement is generally true. People are far more monstrous until they are sitting in front of you and having a conversation with you. That said, they are just as monstrous if they go back to Facebook and start calling you a monster for existing, like being trans or some shit. But anyway.
Laura Trump was here, like last show we did, and you know, as all these shows with the Republicans, I mean, they take their beating like a man. They never ever like get upset when we go back, and I mean, there must have been 6 to 8 major things that, you know, I just pushed back on, you know, and 2 minutes later we're laughing, and there's a way to do it where you just cannot expect, you just can't have that attitude of you must come around to my way of thinking or you're dead to me, unfriend you, cut you off, no Thanksgiving for you.
Wait, but hold on. You see, I want to agree with that, but it depends on the thing we're having a disagreement about. Because, like, if you and I are having a disagreement about what color is the best color for Sonic the Hedgehog's arms, like, yeah, I'm going to think you have a moral failing if you say blue, but I'm not going to cut you off as a friend for being wrong. But, like, if you say, yeah, I think Palestine deserves to burn, I might have a little more want to cut you off at that point, because now we're not just arguing about like a fucking matter of opinion. We're arguing about whether a group of people deserve to live, like, at all. Like, it's a very different conversation.
It just doesn't work. Even if it was the right thing to do, which it is not.
Right.
Because you are not God and you don't know what the answer is. And again, imagine 10 reasons why they think differently. People are different. They grew up in different parts of the country. They have a different thing that was put in their head as a child, different personalities. A lot of politics is your personality. People are sometimes just born square. You're a square. What party are you going to be? You're going to be in the square party. You know?
Yeah.
And it's just, to hate them for that is just, it's cuckoo.
It's not really cuckoo, though, because, okay, so as an example, let's invoke Godwin's law for a minute, you know, just for funsies. But let's say that, for instance, somebody was born in Nazi Germany And let's say the Nazi Germany lasted, longer than a handful of years. But somebody's born in Nazi Germany, and they grow up with anti-Semitic beliefs. And they use those anti-Semitic beliefs to write public policy that ends up stripping away the rights of Jewish people. I'm just curious, do you hold that against them? Do you hold that against them at all? Because, I would. I understand you're a product of your environment, but you can still find out that your position is incorrect. On the one hand, yeah, smartphones, I don't know if they made us stupider per se, but they have given us more access to people stupid, so we can see more of it on display. Maybe we were always that stupid, we just shut up more back then. I don't know the answer to that. But what I do know is that in the age of the smartphone, when you have access to information, you can find out good sourced information in a matter of seconds, and you willingly don't. Again, I feel like there's some nuance here. I feel like you can hold a little bit of that against people, especially when you have a conversation with them and you realize where their ignorance is coming from, and you talk to them about that ignorance. Because, see, the thing about ignorance and stupidity, ignorance is not a choice. Ignorance is not knowing something. And you have no way of knowing you don't know something until you've been presented with a case that shows that you don't know it, right? You don't know that you don't know everything there is to know about earthquakes until you're presented with information that shows that you don't know it all. This is the reason why when people are kids and teenagers, they feel like they know everything in the world. Now, on a deep personal level, you know that you don't know everything there is to know, but you generally get that feeling that you know more than you do, because you haven't had enough pushback from various other sides of political aisles, ideologies, or sciences to show you where your errors are. That's just a thing that you get more exposure to the older that you are. Now, there are some kids that are nightmarishly smart and have all this earned intelligence, but then there are kids who think they're nightmarishly smart. I remember when I thought I knew everything there was to know about a computer. This is back when the average space of a hard drive was 70 gigabytes. And I thought this because I could navigate everything on my computer perfectly. I could diagnose damn near any problem I had on it, and I was golden on all those fronts. And then I met a mutual friend. My friend Corey had a friend, I can't remember his name for the life of me now, but had a friend who knew a lot about computers. Far more than I did. But I took it as a point of pride that I knew what I did about computers. I could break into a security system in my mind, as a child. That was how I thought it was, but it was really me figuring out funny workarounds around parent control. There'd be a lock on using a particular search browser to find websites, and I would just be like, okay, well, why don't we download Netscape or some shit, and then the parental controls won't be on there. And I was like, yeah, I'm a hacker, man. That was my idea of knowing my way around a computer. And then I was introduced to a person who knew so much more about them than me, could actually program, knew how emulators worked on a deep level, actually could program them to a degree. This person knew far more than I did, but I had that point of personal pride where I had to say, oh, you and I know about the same amount, but we just know it about different things, despite the fact that they knew how to do everything I knew how to do. And then they also knew how to do things I had no idea how to even touch. But that's the arrogance of being a kid. You feel like you know more than you do, until presented with information that goes against that. And in my arrogant dumbassery as a kid, I still did not take that new information in properly. Now, once you hit that point, that's when you go from ignorance to stupidity. Ignorance is not knowing. Stupidity is having the opportunity to know and choosing not to. That's what it is. I am stupid for having acted the way I did as a kid, because I thought I knew a lot. I was ignorant about what I didn't know. When presented with what I didn't know, I tried to make a case that I actually knew it. Trust me, bro. I was stupid. I started from ignorance, and I was shown I was ignorant, and then I was just stupid from that point on. I feel like you can hold people accountable not for ignorance, but certainly for stupidity.
I don't, there's very few people that I hate. I think I can maybe name one. But for me, it's about a person's actions and whether or not they are wittingly hurting others and totally okay with it. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good standard.
Yeah. And
okay, I feel like that's the line, right? Like, the ignorance is when you unwittingly do something, stupidity is when you're wittingly doing something. I can kind of agree with that.
I love political debate. I really do. And I forget oftentimes when I'm engaged in a passionate, political debate that not everyone thinks the way I do, because I'm able to get as fiery as we need to as we're, arguing. But once the debate's over, it's over, right? We just had a policy debate. Like, it doesn't, just because we have different points of view doesn't mean that I'm going to write you off and I'm done with you. I've had fiery debates on the show I host and executive produce, The Young Turks, with with the CEO of the company and founder, Cenk Uygur. We don't agree on everything, but we have this ability to sometimes get into shouting matches. And then once we're done with the shouting match, we're done. It's past us,
And that's good practice for marriage.
Actually, yeah, it is. It is totally.
Okay, so again, we're in the stages of things that I actually agree with. Okay, fair. But what disagreement are you having? Because, like, if you disagree, say, with a trans person about their right to exist in a bathroom, do you still be friends after that? Like, when somebody has told you to your face that your human rights are alienable, and that's okay, is that a thing that you hold that for as well? I would want to know. I would want to know.
Because at the end of the day, you're talking to a human being. You're fighting and arguing with a human being. And to,
let's actually see
Gavin
here.
Newsom, to be honest.
I mean, the bizarre, just this bizarre obsession with putting women, rather men, or at least people with penises.
Oh, you're going to get me in trouble. You're going to get me in trouble, Bill. You're going to get me in trouble.
Why?
I like how you went women, no, men, no, people with penises. Bill, just say trans woman. It's fine. It's easy. It's, what the fuck? I get you're older than me, but, like, I used to be pretty fucking transphobic, and it's not hard to break away from that, my guy.
There's no trouble for
Because
you. Your life is trouble.
I'm supposed to be totally okay
There's
with
no
it.
supposed to be. First of all,
Is it bad that I don't want to see a dick in the women's locker room? Is that bad?
no.
But you wouldn't. You wouldn't. So, like, I've been in the locker room. Not the women's locker room, because I'm a guy, but I've been in the locker room. You don't really see people naked in the locker room, usually. Typically, people are fully clothed in the locker room. When they go into the shower, you pull a fucking curtain behind yourself, and suddenly, it's not a problem anymore. Like, also, I'm also just going to say this, for most trans women, if they're there and they're on hormones, it's not a whole lot of dick to see anymore at that point. Like, it's just a thing that happens.
I just don't. I don't want to see a cock in the women's locker room.
And you shouldn't, and no woman should. I mean, this is basic 101, and this is, again, to my point about, like...
Okay, it's basic 101, but what about 102? Like, basic 101 is don't put men in the women's locker room. Basic 102 would be, okay, what's the definition of man? What's the definition of a woman? Like, I'm sorry, but I do not want my girlfriend going into the men's locker room. I don't. I absolutely do not. I do not trust the random fucking men that are at the gym if she goes into the locker room. But I'm dating a trans woman who has a penis. I do not give a fuck about the inconvenience that Anna is worried about, because the data shows, and maybe if K-Fox wants to throw it up on screen, it's a thing that I sourced in a previous video, but data shows that when you bar trans women from women's spaces, you increase the likelihood that they get sexually assaulted. You increase the likelihood that they get sexually assaulted when they go into men's restrooms, into men's locker rooms. You increase that risk. What Anna is saying is that because of her position, her ideology, she cares more about her ideology than what the data and numbers suggest. And I find that fascinating. Because the data and numbers suggest that a trans woman being in the bathroom with her or in the locker room with her does not actually increase her chances of getting sexually assaulted. But the numbers do suggest that trans women have an increased chance of being sexually assaulted when they go to the men's side. What this means to me is that Anna has to either be ignorant of what those numbers suggest, or alternatively, she understands those numbers and is also stupid. Those are the options. Your options are ignorance or stupidity. Sylvie, thank you for gifting a tier 1 sub. Those are your options. Those are your options. And we have seen when you try to police those spaces, you end up fucking things up for cis women.
If I just listed, and I could do it for a long time, the things that they do because they're so tripped up by their own
Orthodox
ideology, that they think that makes them a better person, to be so counterintuitive about all these issues like this.
Okay. So I agree with you on that. I have actually had the disagreements with people who have a very, very strange relation with reality who are trans. I have had those disagreements. But to say that that's the trans movement or the ideology, the orthodoxy of the transes, I think is incorrect.
This makes them the good people, that they're way out ahead on this issue. And you're not. And it's not what people want. And it goes against human nature. And it's not helping.
How does it go against human nature? I feel like human nature made the person fucking trans, Bill.
You didn't, you want to champion women, and you didn't. You did the opposite. You
I know, because there's the hierarchy.
You made them uncomfortable.
No,
did you make them uncomfortable? Because last I checked, the bathroom and locker debates began around 2007. It wasn't really a big point of conversation, but around 2007 that was happening in Oklahoma, and then it eventually came to a head in 2015-16 here because of the Trump administration. Is it so weird to think that if people were not being artificially fearmongered against trans women, that the likelihood that anybody would give a flying fuck would decrease, Bill?
Necessarily.
100%. Look,
in many ways.
When you see everything as a hierarchy, literally everything's a hierarchy, well then, inevitably, you're going to find yourself in a situation where the rights of one group kind of falls by the wayside.
Right. It's a zero-sum game.
Exactly. And
I think that that's the way that the right wing looks at it, though, not the left wing. The left wing says this isn't a zero-sum game. Trans women can have a right to the bathroom, and you can still have a right to privacy because a trans girl is not shitting in your fucking lap in the bathroom, my guys. Oh, my God.
See it that way. I respect transgender people. I do not want to treat them like the others. I want them to have rights. I want them to be treated with dignity and respect.
Exactly.
At the same
Will Shard says, what goes on in women's bathrooms and locker rooms that they see each other's genitals? I played varsity sports and go to the gym multiple times a week and have gone to the men's room regularly, and I've never seen anyone's genitals. There could be only trans men in the room and I wouldn't know. Yeah, so I have seen male genitalia once in the locker room. There is an older gentleman who goes to the gym, and some of his gym days line up with mine. And if I take my shower at the gym, and he takes the shower as well, every now and again, not all the time, but every now and again, instead of taking his towel and taking his clothes into the shower after it's turned off, because you put all your stuff on a hook outside, then you pull it inside, instead of that, he'll just walk out stark naked, dry naked in front of everybody, and then dress up. I've only seen him do it once, and me and him have showered at the same time multiple times in the gym, but he's only done the full frontal nudity thing once ever that I've been in there. I don't see it happen that often at all, because I only have the one fucking example of it happening in the locker room at all. I fucking didn't see it yesterday when I was in the gym. But at least I gained another 10 pounds on some of my arms exercises, so I'm happy about that. I said asserting dominance. Shit on somebody's lap in the bathroom to assert dominance.
I also know what it's like to be a woman living in a state where we've decided self-ID makes the most sense. Okay, well, self-ID doesn't make the most sense. Because
Yes, it does. Self-ID makes the most sense because by what other metric would you use? Like, would you use how the person looks? Because I've seen femboys. They exist. They confuse a lot of people. I'm sorry, but the way that a person describes themselves, the way that a person feels themselves, I think that is the most accurate way. Pernia says, so you don't have the little curtain off dressing area in front of the shower? No, we don't. No, at our gym here at Planet Fitness, it's literally just shower area, curtain in front of shower area, and that's it. Or the curtain in front of the shower itself. So each individual shower is closed off with a curtain, but there's not like an extra curtain in front of it to facilitate changing. You just change in the shower. Though I would argue that having that changing area would be a improvement over what we have, because sometimes if I'm showering in the gym, which I don't do it that often anymore. I tend to shower when I get home now because I don't want to catch anything off the floors in the gym. You can get some weird shit that way. If you're not like standing on shoes or something. But I still would rather there be that extra spot. I think that would be a marked improvement. Said shower shoes are good for that? Yeah. I can definitely see that. And I have sandals that are waterproof that I could use as shower shoes effectively. And that would definitely solve that problem. I would just need to remember to pack them with me to the gym. And then I would have to remember to actually clean those shoes when I get home. Because like I have a big problem of not cleaning my shoes. Because like you take the shoes off and you put them in the shoe rack and then you forget about them. But like if I'm trying to avoid a disease from the gym, then that's definitely a thing I would need to start doing more often. And at that point, I'll just fucking shower at home.
As obviously, as you and I both know, there are all sorts of predators out there who are going to take advantage of that situation, and that's already happened.
Okay, so Anna, you do understand that having a sign in front of a locker room or a shower or a gym will not stop a rapist. Like, 0 rapists in the history of the world have looked up at the sign that says women's restroom and have just gone, well, guess I can't put my penis in there. Like, that doesn't happen, Anna. That's not a thing. If somebody wants to engage in awful behavior towards another human being, the rules and laws of society are already not being adhered to. What makes you think they're going to magically adhere to this one?
Right, so there was that big Wii Spa story, and it turned out that the so-called transgender woman who was allowed into the women's locker room at a Korean spa in downtown LA was not actually a transgender person, was a person who had a long record of, sexual exploitation and assault or whatever.
Yeah, and Anna, what you're doing right now is utilizing an anecdote. An anecdote that definitely is a convincing anecdote because people are convinced by anecdotes more often. What I would like to argue is that people should not be convinced by anecdotes. When somebody gives you a testimonial about a vitamin supplement, do you listen to the testimonial and go, yeah, that thing probably fucking works? Or do you tilt your head and go, where's the research? Because what you should be doing anytime somebody does that is ask them where the research is. Because you can get somebody who believes in homeopathic medicine, and they'll swear by it, and their family will swear by it, and their dog will swear by it. And then when you go and actually do the research into what homeopathic medicine is, and you find out that, it's a single piece of maybe medication, sometimes it's fucking lavender oil, that's been diluted in water so much that there's nothing in there anymore. It's just fucking water. And the premise is based off of the water retaining a memory of the things that it had had before, which, if that was true, congratulations, you're drinking 50,000 generation old piss. When people use anecdotes, they can convince you that this homeopathic medicine that's basically just water is going to cure your cancer. When you look at the data, you find that that's not the case. Clueless says one who reads says an anecdote that didn't actually happen? Wait, is the story they're talking about one that didn't fucking happen? Is that what you're saying? Because I don't know about this story. This particular story. I don't actually know about it. What I do know is how you convince people of an untrue thing. Anecdotes and testimonials are the weapons of snake oil salesmen to convince you that a product works when it does not. Data and peer review are the things that scientists use when trying to show whether or not something works. Use the data. Do not use the testimonials.
Pretended to be transgender, gets into the women's locker room, and I felt so
Said
bad.
the Wii Spa is a hoax. Can you find me an article on that? Because now I'm curious. I am very curious.
Because I bought the cover story when it was first reported, but I was wrong to buy it. I should have asked more questions. And that poor woman, she happened to be a black woman who was complaining at the front desk of Wii Spa. She was dragged through the mud when in reality, she witnessed this person fondling themselves in the women's locker room. Now, this person is not transgender. This is not an indictment of transgender people. It's an indictment of a policy that was not thought through. And as a result, there are women who are going to suffer. And as a result, there are transgender people who are going to suffer because people are going to make the mistake of thinking, oh, well, that guy was transgender and this is how they behave. No, this is not how they behave. We need to be smarter about these policies. It's that simple.
It's so good to hear you say that.
Yeah.
Really good. I did not expect that.
Really?
Well, in general, you're a lot more reasonable.
DJ Blazer says it's a story of a trans person changing in a locker room and being harassed as a result. They tried to charge her and she was found not guilty on all accounts. Again, can you throw me something that I can read on that? Because it's not that I don't want to trust chat. It's that I don't trust chat. Oh my god, I am seeing some stuff about Wii Spa from a few years ago. Is this from a few years ago? Because, this is the one I'm seeing from a few years ago. On July 3rd, an anti-trans protest outside of a Los Angeles spa resulted in 2 stabbings, all over social media posts that police are now treating as a hoax. Back in June 24, a user called Coven Angel posted a video on Instagram showing her and at least 2 other women confronting a staff member at Wii Spa about having seen a man with a penis in the women's changing area. I'm recording this because I'm going to make a big deal. I'm going to take this very worldwide. Soon after the video began to go viral in transphobic corners of the internet, members of the trans community began to raise questions about it. Chief among them, why the video cuts out as the woman marches downstairs to confront the person she's allegedly seen, conveniently ending before the trans woman that she's so angry about is even shown. The woman also reportedly mentions children being exposed to a penis, while no children appear in the video, and the group didn't appear to have any children with them. These early doubts have been bolstered by reports from the LA Angeles Blade that police suspect a hoax after failing to find any witness who saw a trans woman at the spa, and that Wii Spa claims none of their trans clients even had scheduled some appointments that day. What? Anna, what the fuck are you on about? You're talking about an event that didn't happen. I didn't believe chat at first, but no, they're right. Anna's talking about an event that didn't happen. Her ideology is based on a fucking hoax. If the foundation of your position requires you to base it on a hoax, then you are incorrect. You are just lying to yourself. No, absolutely fucking not. No, we're done. We're done with that part of the clip. No. I'm sorry, if we get to the part where your argument hinges on a situation that didn't fucking happen, then you don't have a fucking point. That's wild. That is wild to me. There was an update on here several months afterwards. The New York Post reports that on August 30th, charges of indecent exposure were discreetly filed against a serial sex offender for the Wii Spa incident. Following an investigation by the Los Angeles Police Department, the accused, Darren Aggie Meriger, denied the allegations in an interview with the Post, but indicated that she plans to turn herself into the authorities. The accused, Darren Aggie Meriger? Wait a minute. That's not a man then, though, because she plans to turn herself into the authorities. Wait a minute. Okay. So wait, an LA County Superior Court, fuck off, acquitted Darren Agee Merriger, who identifies as transgender, from charges of indecent exposure. Merriger says exposed himself naked and fully intact to women and minor girls in a sex-segregated area of Wi Spa, a traditional Korean spa where clients are provided services while nude. Merriger has a record of sexual crimes convictions. The jury decided there was no evidence that they intended to arouse or offend. This ruling comes on the heel of the federal court ruling earlier this week. Okay, so there was no fucking problem then. What? So there was no problem then? Like, that nothing bad happened at that point? I'm confused. Because, like, okay. God, we're going to be doing research here. Exclusive, we saw subject, not guilty on all 9 counts of indecent exposure. The not guilty verdict for Darren Merriger was read aloud to an audience of 1 in the Los Angeles courtroom gallery. Gone were the leftist activists and black-clad SoCal Antifa militants who attacked conservative demonstrators outside Wi Spa in the name of smashing transphobia. Gone were the Christian conservatives and self-identifying TERFs who found common cause protesting for traditional women's spaces. Gone were all the reporters. There were bombshells throughout the 4-week jury trial. An email from the Wi Spa manager named Mr. Suh was entered into evidence. It instructed managers on duty not to admit Darren Merriger, the now 55-year-old heterosexual male who also identifies as transgender, referred to as a he, him, and she, her on the record. Okay, so a trans woman, I guess. The ignored email referred to night in 2021 that the embattled bather sat nude on the edge of the spa jacuzzi tub, legs akimbo until female patrons complained, and then filed police reports weeks later. A woman recorded a viral video that night objecting to a penis on the woman's side of the 24-hour Korean spa, and the public firestorm was followed by felony criminal charges. They let the defendant in, the jury foreman commented after the final days of the 4-week trial in May, which cleared Merriger of indecent exposure charges at both the Wi Spa near LA's Koreatown and a similar incident at the West Hollywood Aquatic Center. The author of the viral video, a woman named Christina R., who went by Cubana Angel online, didn't even testify for the prosecution. It would have meant entering the selfie video into evidence. The defense wanted the video played so the jury could hear the colorful reactions from those set against Merriger that night. What's more, absent from the extended video was any mention of the key claim that might prove sexual intent and alleged erection. Judge Joseph Bugert ruled, to the dismay of the defense, that only a short section of the Wi Spa kerfuffle could be played sans audio. Pronoun discipline was a Herculean task throughout the month of the trial. The defense attorney and judge constantly shifted between referring to Merriger as he and she, and Merriger's attributes as his penis, her penis. Deputy prosecutor Karen Montoya only slipped up once over the 4-week ordeal and quickly apologized, correcting herself after straying from genderless terminology. Merriger was unoffended, and the defendant accepts being referred to by both sets of pronouns. The jury was asked to decide by official language that the defendant exposed herself with the intent of sexual gratification. Jurors came to a not guilty decision in less than an hour and a half. The foreman summed up the prosecution's case in 3 simple words: it wasn't enough. Testimony was inconsistent. A previous judge had ruled that the claim was sufficient pretrial evidence, though. One woman, a mother at the spa with her 2 teenage daughters, changed her characterization of Merriger over the years. The defense seized on the witness accounts differing from the police report to the preliminary hearing, and then at the trial, the woman's testimony escalated the claims to the defendant's hand on thigh to then, via the court Spanish language interpreter, insinuations of more animated activity. A witness that jurors told me they found to be one of the most credible appeared on behalf of the defense. She was a psychiatric nurse practitioner who was also in the nude area of the spa with her 2 daughters. She admitted to concern over Merriger's presence, but also could see Merriger for the better part of half an hour through the window of the sauna as the defendant remained at the jacuzzi pool. Dr. Nadajaran testified Merriger's demeanor was pleasant and there was no erection. Jurors told me they were suspicious that 2 WeSpa complaints said they just happened to show up at the same time at an LA police station to file police reports. Weeks after the incident, another prosecution witness dramatically took the stand on the very last minute. A woman named Tamra was upset that her autistic daughter had to bear witness to Merriger's manhood in the woman's showers of a Sherman Oaks pool. She offered up a litany of choice words in court and admitted to telling Merriger, "I'll drag you out by your hair." Jury members told me that the highly charged witness testimony did not help the prosecution. Okay, so what I'm seeing from here, irrespective of whatever shit this person may have done before, irrespective of all that, we have somebody who is ostensibly a trans woman who was in the shower or in the spa and wasn't causing problems and got harassed. And that Anna Kasparian believes with the harassment and does not believe that the law enforcement or the judge or the jury were correct in their assessment that no wrongdoing happened. Anna Kasparian believes bullshit is what I'm seeing. Because, like, I've rubber banded a little bit back and forth on this while, getting all the evidence together. This is my first time hearing about this, but I think I've seen enough to come to the conclusion that this is just, okay, so they go by, like, agender and, a lot of times it's female. Sure, why not? Whatever. So basically, a trans woman, for lack of any other nuance, and somebody's going to get mad at me in the comment section, I don't give a shit if somebody's going to get mad at me in the comment section for that. The TLDR is a trans woman was in a spa, hurt nobody, harassed nobody, got harassed by a bunch of cis women in a coordinated attack, and then they failed to present any evidence that this person was a threat or a problem. Cool. That's what I got from that. That's where the tirade from Anna comes from. It's based on that. Okay. Will Shara says, Anna Kasparian, Anna Kesp Rubin has been setting up for her Why I Left the Left announcement for a while now. I don't like seeing things in straight binaries like that. I don't think that's what's going to happen. So it sounds like the usual problem trans women face. That's what it looks like. Like, they're just upset that a trans woman exists. And that makes them mad. Like, looking at the actual conversation around the court case, Anna's just bitching about nothing. Marilana says, Anna left the left forever ago. She said years ago she's politically homeless on a bunch of right-wing shows. Yeah, I don't think she's doing the why I left the left thing. I think she's the disenfranchised liberal. I think that's what her thing is. And I know that's like Tim Pool's thing as well, but I don't know. Labels aside, I don't give a fuck about the labels right now. I give a fuck that she is wrong, and the evidence from the court case shows that she is wrong. And that's enough for me.
Well,
that's enough for me. Okay. That's all I got time for on this one. The bit of research, that took it out of me. That was honestly kind of depressing, not even gonna lie. Oh my god. Why? Why can't people just use, like, evidence-based reasoning? Why is that something that people are really, really immune to? Why is everybody all for ideology and not for facts and logic now? It's agitating. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. As for me, that's the end of the video. Insert end of video tagline here. Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagittarius, you know I'm not saying that last part, Valis of Seraph, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.